Hey folks, David Stewart here. Hope you guys are having a great day. I want to talk about how my son plays video games and really use that as a point of discussion for how people play video games in general. Because I noticed that my son plays video games very differently from how I play video games and really how most adults that I know happen to play video games. So when my son plays a video game, it is because there is something in the game that he just wants to experience in that moment. It's not because he's trying to beat the game necessarily. It's not because he has an objective. Whereas adults, when they play a game, they tend to have an objective for what they're doing when they're playing. They're trying to get through a level. They're trying to beat something on hard mode. They're trying to finish the game. They're trying to get a new piece of gear in an MMO. There's always this objective when adults play video games, and my son really has no objective when he plays a game. Now, he's beaten games on his own. He beat Super Mario Odyssey completely on his own, and he still plays that game frequently. And it's not really to collect moons, though he will occasionally find moons and get excited about that. But it's just because he thinks about a level that he likes the way it looks, or he likes something in it, and he just goes and explores that level and plays around and does the things in that level. Like he might go to the desert level in Super Mario Odyssey and hop on the little running Sphinx thing or whatever it is and run around just because he thinks that's fun. It's just fun in and of itself. He might do a turtle race because he thinks it's fun. He doesn't even really care about winning. He might do races that he's already beaten and already gotten the moons from, and he just does them again. Or he'll go look for Peach or something in a level just to find her. He doesn't really care if she has anything to give him or not. Like, that's not even on his radar, really. And not only has he beaten the game, but he's unlocked like all the different parts of the moon. So he's gotten a whole bunch of different moons and has like collected all kinds of different pieces of armor. And he's never really done it with an objective, like, oh, I need to go get gold so that I can buy this knight armor. He's just like, oh, I have a bunch of gold. I guess maybe I'll buy something, right? And he gets the gold just from walking around the levels and having fun playing. And he does this in a lot of other games as well. So he'll play Ratchet and Clank, and he's like, whoa, I got to the end of Ratchet and Clank. It's like, well, great, you beat the game. He's like, well, can I go back and play the other levels? Because beating the game is not somebody. It's not like a thing where he beats the game. And he's like, oh, I finished the game. I'll put it to the side. He beats the game, and then later on, different day, different month, he's like, you know what game was fun? Was this game. I'm going to put it in and just play it because I want to play the game. Because I just want to play the game. That's the only reason that he has for putting a video game in. And I realized that that was really the way that my generation, at least, played games way back in the day, back in like the 80s or 90s. And the reason for that was that games were really hard to beat, and we were kids. And being kids and not being good at games yet, but enjoying them for what they were, we would put in games that were impossible to beat and just play them for a while. Impossible to us, like playing Contra. Like you put in Contra and you just play it and see how far you could get, and it was just fun to shoot aliens or whatever, shoot the bad guys and blow up the stuff and just see how far you could get, put in the Contra code. That was how you played Contra as a kid. And actually getting to the heart and beating it was something like really rare. It wasn't something that you did very often. And you didn't sit down and put in the game and be like, I'm going to try to beat the game right now. You're just like, I'm just going to play. I remember this game Fester's Quest that I had, which I still have never beaten because it's like broken. But you'd play it because it was fun to try to go around and explore and see what was in the different rooms and all that kind of stuff. So you would just play games to play games a lot of times as kids. I remember just doing Final Fantasy because I like to do the battles. That was it, or doing Dragon Warrior because you just like to explore around and see if there was anything in the wilderness. I remember doing that with Zelda 2, just like walking around, seeing if there was some kind of hidden thing I didn't know about. So anyway, we used to just play games like that. We didn't really play them with the expectation that we were beating them or that we were moving towards some ending of the game. As an adult, and especially as a time-constricted adult, one of the things I noticed a few years ago is that I was trying to play games in this way where I had like this strong objective to a play session, where I'd put in a game and I'd say, I'm going to try to get through this dungeon, or I'm going to try to I'm going to start up World of Warcraft and I'm going to do these daily dungeons. And before you know it, you're like, well, this game isn't fun anymore. I'm not interested in it. Well, you're treating it like a job. Because what adults tend to do, especially adult men, and I think this goes along, not just that most gamers are male, but male gamers, I think, tend to do this a little bit more than female gamers for this reason, which is that video games can be a bit of a surrogate activity. Meaning that rather than going out in the world and making money and putting your mark on the world, doing some kind of thing which has an impact on the world and which brings you status, you do a video game which gives you that sense of accomplishment, but doesn't really do anything in the world. It's rather than being an aesthetic experience like a movie or a story experience like a book. Of course, a movie can be a story experience as well. The game can be lots of things, but the reason people are constantly playing League of Legends is that it gives you that feeling of success when you are successful. It's why PvP in World of Warcraft was so addictive, is that climbing that ladder and beating other people made you feel like you were important and like you were doing something. It affected the brain in that way, even though it made zero impact on the world at large. Even the people who were the professional players, like you were probably never going to get there. So I realized the fondest memories I have of playing games really are non-objective, right? The objective is to play and have fun and experience the game. And if you approach a game that way, it's a much more enjoyable experience. Not only that, but if you seek out games which offer the opportunity for that experience, facilitate that experience, then you're going to have more fun playing those games than if you are picking a game because you enjoy the competitive nature of it. Competitive games tend to be like a surrogate for a lot of males, and that's actually not good. And so I think about this. I've known many people who play League of Legends, but I've never known anyone who was happy to play it. I've only known people who were frustrated and angry when they played League of Legends. I say, why don't you quit playing it? And they're like, I should, but I'm going to do another match. Because, not just because it's addictive, like what makes it addictive is that feeling like you have somehow done something, like you've actually won a battle. But of course you haven't really done that. And then it becomes not very fun. It becomes like a job when you log into World of Warcraft and it's just a bunch of daily quests and stuff like that. When you log into an MMO and there's just a task list for you to do, that's not very fun because you have a task list at work, right? So the game stops being an escape for you and starts to be just an extension of your achievement in life. It becomes an extension of you working towards an achievement in your work. You're just working towards an achievement in a game. And it's not that there's anything wrong towards like wanting to finish a game or like wanting to beat it on hard mode or wanting to challenge yourself. That is a lot of fun, and that's part of what gaming is about. But I think it's really easy to kind of step too far and put in a game with like, I have an objective to try to like master the game or try to climb the ladder or try to get through the next highest rift or whatever, whatever the game happens to be and whatever challenge level it offers and whatever sort of rewards it gives you, to want to seek those rewards rather than to just play the game for its own sake. So that's the first thing, is my son plays games because they're fun. And if a game is not fun, he won't play it. Like, end of story. If he doesn't find a game fun, he will turn it off and he just really won't play it. And he'll sometimes watch me play games and he'll be like, that game doesn't look like fun because, you're not exploring, you're not doing stuff. Like if when I had a World of Warcraft account, what he'd want to do is he'd want to get on and like ride up a dragon and just explore around and see stuff and then find something to kill and like press the buttons and kill the thing. He wants to do that in Final Fantasy as well. That's the thing that's interesting to him, is just seeing what's in the game. Like what's in it, what looks cool, what will kill me, what won't kill me. He doesn't care about leveling up. Like, oh, you level up by doing these quests. Like, okay, is the quest fun? Like, what's fun about it? So the quests that he wanted me to do in Final Fantasy 14, like he had problems sleeping in the night, so he'd be up in the middle of the night. And he'd want me to do these really humorous quests with what's his name? The inspector. God, what's his name? Anyway, the Hildebrand quest. That's right. So he would want to do these because he just thought they were really silly and fun. They were slapstick funny. It was like a funny little story, and then you fought monsters in between it and could explore the towns or whatever while you did it. And that's what was really interesting to him, is to just see it. Now, there's another thing there too, which is that my son wants to play games with me. And when he wants to play games with me, it's because he wants to do something with me. He could play Legos with me. He could read a book with me, right? He could have me read him a book. We could go outside and sword fight, or play with sticks or something, right? There's a million things we could do. It's because he wants to do something with me. So put in Super Mario 3D World. We'll do levels that we've already beaten, and maybe even levels where we have all the stars. We'll do them just because he enjoys doing them, and he wants to do it with me, and wants to show me things that he found in the level. Let me show you the secret I found. This is fun, right? So what he enjoys about playing the games with more than one player, or when he plays with his cousins, if his cousins come over, because they haven't come over that much, in recent times, but what he would really enjoy was, let's load up this game where we can all play, and I'll show you fun stuff, and you can find fun stuff, and we'll just play together. It's an extension of kids playing with each other, just a kid playing. So it facilitates the social activity, which is kids playing. And that reminds me of, I'll probably do another video on this, what I call the Goldeneye effect. So if you remember the Nintendo 64 game Goldeneye, this was a very infamous game, and people have a lot of very fond memories of playing 007 Goldeneye on the Nintendo 64. Even back in the 90s, I made a point that it was really not a very good game. It was technically, didn't run very well. It was very choppy. And if you were doing that 4-player split screen, I don't even know how they got that to work on the Nintendo 64. That's like an engineering marvel when you think about it, like 4 different perspectives. It ran horribly. But the reason that was good was not because it was balanced, because the gameplay was, allowed great competition and allowed people to climb. It was fun because it got 4 friends or more, because you could take turns. It got 4 friends together and facilitated them having fun with each other. It was the brotherhood that we have a nostalgia for, that sitting in a room physically with another person, where as time has gone on, more and more games are just online. This was, it's couch co-op or couch competition. You're sitting with your friends and playing. Maybe you order a pizza, you take a break and go swimming, or whatever it is that you're going to do. Take a break and just ride your bike around the park. Kid stuff that was just hanging out with your friends, hanging out with your brothers, and having a really good time. Or sisters, there's of course, my perspective is male, but girls could do this as well. And so a lot of the nostalgia that I think we have for the 90s and for games in the 90s has to do with the time and place of the game and what it facilitated with us, right? So GoldenEye itself, I think it's a very nauseating experience to go back and try to play today. And actually, the first time I went back and tried to play was like 2010 or something. I'm like, I thought it was kind of nauseating back in the day. It's way more nauseating trying to play it on a big TV with all of that kind of stuff. A remaster of it would be a lot more playable, but then people would see that the gameplay really is honestly pretty limited. Now, it was impressive maybe for the Nintendo 64 in the time if you didn't have a PC, you didn't have access to games like Quake or something like that. But nevertheless, it's not a game that holds up because of its high quality gameplay. It's a game that is remembered. We remember the wrong things about it. We think the game was good, but what was good was that the game facilitated great memories and great times with our friends. Likewise, this is an element of classic World of Warcraft. Classic, the original release of WoW, is a good game. I still think it's very balanced and the gameplay is great. But what it facilitated, that's what was really special. And I think, for my time playing on private servers, that facilitated a big portion of what was still around in 2004 to 2006, which was it facilitated meeting people from all over the world, making friends, having these desperate experiences where you were having PvP against someone and got killed or killed the other person in the nick of time. All of those little moments that were so big and so impactful back in 2004, you can have similar moments today because the game still facilitates that if it's close to its original state. Now, it's a solved game, so you're going to be missing a lot of the other things like figuring out how to get gear and finding and exploring and finding things that was part of the original experience. You can't replicate that properly. But one of the things that is good to remember about the game is that it facilitated these better experiences. It's the emergent gameplay that really mattered when it came to World of Warcraft, and not just the mechanisms of the game design. Those were important too, but you could put those mechanisms in other games and they don't bring forth the same feelings because they don't have the overall setup to allow what World of Warcraft did. Like a dungeon being very far away meant that you had to group up and run, like, running to Shadowfang Keep or something in Horde territory if you were Alliance, or trying to rent at Dead Mines or something if you were Horde. These sorts of experiences were meaningful and fun. They took time and made you like bond with the people that you were playing with and make friends in the game. And I guess because people have more convenient experiences now, they're not usually going to choose those kinds of things. And it's not wrong to not want to have to spend 2 hours running to an instance. There's nothing wrong about that, nothing bad about that. It's okay to have precious time. But because the game did that back in the day, it facilitated different things that we have affection for. So yeah, when my son wants to play a game, it's because he wants to play with me. He wants the social experience. And he doesn't really care about the objectives that are in it. And so this all comes back to my big point that you want to, if you look at the way kids play games today, and the way my son plays games, I guess because of the way I've set up gaming in my house, where it's a lot of more classic-oriented games, he plays the games the way that, older folks like me, I guess I'm older folks at this point, I'm not quite 40, but I'll be 40 next year at some point. Next year. I'll be 39 next month. So, older people like me who played NES and SNES, we interacted with the games in a different way. And I can see that my kid does that in that way. And you just kind of forget along the way because new experiences start asking you to play games in new and different ways. Now, when I wrote a lot of the stuff about nostalgia, Gen Y stuff a year or two ago, that was a big inspiration. It was remembering like part of what was cool about consoles in the 90s was like you'd come home and you just wouldn't have anything else to do. It was a complete distraction-free experience. So you'd pop in a game and you could just play and turn it off when you wanted it. You wanted to turn it off and wanted to do something else. There really was no one banging on your door demanding a piece of your time from you. So today, the way that we can facilitate that kind of gaming is, first of all, choosing games that allow you to just interact with them the way that you want to. Honestly, I feel like Final Fantasy XIV as an MMO allows a lot of that. Now it's very, very streamlined compared to like a real old school MMO. But I don't really feel any pressure when I choose to play that game. Like, I got to level up, I got to get to level cap, or I don't feel that kind of pressure because lots of people don't play the game that way. You can do a seasonal event, or you could do a dungeon if you want, or you could do some quests, or you can, do some other side quest chain or something. There's so many things to just do in the game, or level professions. There's so many different things to do in the game. It takes a long time to run out of the things that you just are like, well, I need to power level up. I need to spend my time as efficiently as possible because if someone else is going to be ahead of me and have a higher gear score than me, and then I won't get into the raid, and just don't interact with the game that way, and it ends up being a lot more fun. And then being able to turn things off when you play. One of the great things I loved about playing Morrowind recently, not on stream because obviously I'm interacting with people on stream, but on my own, I've played Morrowind a bunch, kind of leading up to that video on the 20th anniversary and afterwards, is that I can't tab out of Morrowind. So I close all the windows and I just play Morrowind and I have to explore it. Like if you tab, because I have this game so modded, if you tab out and tab back in too many times, the game will crash. So it's better to just play it in full screen and leave it. And it just forced me to interact with the game in a way that it was just like 2002 again, and in a really fun way. So that distraction-free experience. No extra windows open, no YouTube videos playing, no people calling me, no people demanding something of my time. So if you construct your gaming time in that way and you approach games from I want to play this to enjoy it, I think gaming can be very, very enjoyable in 2022. It doesn't have to be this kind of dragging, grinding experience in every single game. Though there's a lot of developers that want you to interact with games that way. They want you to be grinding because they don't want you to leave that game. They want you to stay in that game and do the microtransactions. They want you in their game. They want you climbing that ladder. They want you to care about the crap that you really shouldn't care about. So you got to pick games that are outside of that paradigm. Don't, instead of playing World of Warcraft, you should play something more casual. Or instead of playing Call of Duty, you should play single-player games that you find interesting and fun. I had a great time today, by the way, playing Super Hot VR. And that was just a really fun game. And when I felt like turning it off because, it was time to eat, just turn it off and I can play it again some other time. I'm not losing time. I'm not falling behind the rat race. I'm not falling. My spot on the leaderboard is not dropping down because I'm not playing that game. I can play it again whenever I want to. So single player games, I think, are a big part of that. Anyway, leave me your thoughts about how you've watched maybe your kids play video games, and how you remember playing video games as a kid, and of course how you can recapture that fun. One of the things that I do every night, more or less, when I'm done with my work, I will read a book or play a game, one of the two. Lately, I've been playing games, and the game I've been playing has been Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin, which is a really fun game to play. And it's a great game because I can play it for 15 or 20 minutes or an hour or even less and feel like I had fun playing it. As soon as you log in, every single moment, the cutscenes are really short and they get out of the way, and they expose what you need of the story. You go into cool looking spaces and you fight challenging monsters, and you have to figure out how to beat them real quick. And you can do a couple encounters, and then there's another save point, and then you can turn the game off or just suspend it, because I played on PS5 and play it some other time. I never feel like I have to, oh man, this game just came out and maybe I want to do a review on it. I got to finish it this weekend. If I do game reviews, I think I'm just going to do it like on whatever games I feel like talking about from now on, because it's more fun. It's more fun than trying to stay on top of some kind of rat race in the YouTube space. Like, let me review the newest movie, the newest game. Now, let's talk about stuff that's fun, or something recently that I saw or did that was crap. That's fun to talk about too. So if it sucks or it doesn't suck, it doesn't have to be new to create an interesting conversation on YouTube, in my opinion. So that's something that I'll be looking to do going forward. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and let me know what you think about this. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening to this little rambling chat. Have a great one. And newest books will probably link down below. And have a good one.